Imagine waking up to blaring sirens not as a drill but as a chilling reality. The news flashes images of explosions across Europe. The unthinkable has happened. NATO and Russia are at war. Panic grips the continent. Millions flee westward, seeking refuge from the advancing Russian bear. Cities empty out, transformed into ghost towns overnight. The initial hours are marked by chaos and confusion. Communication networks overload as desperate citizens try to connect with loved ones. Governments struggle to maintain order amidst the panic. Food and fuel shortages quickly emerge as supply chains are disrupted. The financial markets go into freefall. The euro and other European currencies plummet in value. Investors dump European assets, fearing the worst. The global economy teeters on the brink of collapse as the conflict threatens to engulf the entire world. Fear and uncertainty grip the hearts of millions. The old continent, scarred by the memories of past wars, braces itself for a conflict unlike any it has ever seen. The age of anxiety has arrived, and its shadow stretches across the globe. At the heart of this conflict lies a terrifying reality, the specter of a swift and devastating missile war. Russia possesses a formidable arsenal, capable of striking deep into the heart of Europe. Their Iskander ballistic missiles can reach numerous NATO capitals within minutes. NATO, while outgunned, is not defenseless. The alliance relies on a layered defense system, anchored by the Aegis Ashore system. This system aims to shoot down incoming ballistic missiles. As the missile threat looms large, the speed of troop deployment is critical. NATO's vast network of bases and infrastructure provides a significant advantage. The arterial highway enables rapid troop movement across Europe. This allows NATO to reinforce its eastern flank swiftly. The goal is to deter Russian aggression with swift response. The arterial highway symbolizes NATO's commitment to defense. It represents the alliance's unity and resolve. In a conflict where speed is paramount, the ability to deploy forces rapidly could be the deciding factor. NATO's rapid response capabilities are designed to counter Russia's own doctrine of swift, decisive action. The Kremlin's strategy relies on overwhelming force and speed to achieve its objectives before NATO can effectively respond. NATO's enhanced forward presence, with its multinational battle groups deployed in the Baltic states and Poland, serves as a tripwire force. These deployments are designed to buy time for reinforcements to arrive from other NATO countries. The success of this strategy hinges on the ability of these battle groups to hold the line against a potential Russian offensive. However, the effectiveness of this tripwire strategy depends on several factors, including the willingness of NATO members to commit sufficient forces and the ability to maintain political unity within the alliance. Russia's ability to exploit potential vulnerabilities, such as the Suwalki Gap, a narrow strip of land connecting Poland to the Baltic states, could severely test NATO's rapid response capabilities. The early stages of the conflict will likely be a race against time, with both sides vying for strategic advantage. Section 5, Guardians of the Sea, NATO's maritime power projection. NATO enjoys a significant advantage in the maritime domain. The alliance focuses on controlling the North Atlantic, Baltic Sea and Black Sea. These waterways are crucial for reinforcing allies and denying Russia access. NATO's standing naval forces conduct regular patrols and exercises. American aircraft carriers and submarines provide a significant deterrent. Russia's submarine fleet poses a significant threat. The Nord Stream sabotage highlights Russia's disruptive capabilities. NATO must remain vigilant against Russian challenges. Section 6. The Ukrainian crucible, a pivotal role in the conflict. In this unfolding drama, Ukraine finds itself thrust into a pivotal and perilous role. And the country, already grappling with a brutal Russian invasion, becomes a critical battleground in the wider war between NATO and Russia. Ukraine's fierce resistance has already exposed weaknesses in the Russian military, but it has come at a terrible cost. If the conflict escalates to a full-blown war between NATO and Russia, Ukraine's strategic significance would only intensify. The country's vast territory and its proximity to Russia make it a vital buffer zone for NATO. The West's continued support for Ukraine, both militarily and economically, would be crucial in sustaining its resistance against Russia. However, Ukraine's involvement also presents a significant risk of escalation. Russia has repeatedly threatened to target Western arms shipments to Ukraine, raising the specter of a direct confrontation between NATO and Russian forces. Finding the right balance between supporting Ukraine and avoiding an uncontrollable escalation will be one of the most difficult challenges facing Western leaders. Section 7. Russia's calculus, allies, logistics, and the limits of power. While Russia possesses a formidable military, its ability to sustain a protracted conflict against NATO is questionable. The country faces significant logistical challenges, a shrinking pool of available manpower, and an economy battered by Western sanctions. Moreover, Russia's reliance on aging equipment and its struggles with outdated military doctrine could prove to be significant weaknesses. While Russia has found some support from countries like Belarus and Iran, its network of allies pales in comparison to NATO's global reach. China's position remains ambiguous, with Beijing offering rhetorical support for Moscow but stopping short of providing direct military assistance. Russia's ability to withstand the combined economic and military might of the West is uncertain at best. However, it would be a mistake to underestimate Russia's resolve. The Kremlin has shown a willingness to absorb significant losses and endure economic hardship to achieve its objectives. Moreover, Russia's nuclear arsenal remains a potent deterrent, casting a long shadow over the conflict. The West must tread carefully, balancing the need to deter Russian aggression with the imperative of avoiding a catastrophic escalation. Section 8, the nuclear shadow, an unthinkable threat, looms large. Looming over this entire conflict is the unthinkable, the specter of nuclear war. Russia's nuclear arsenal, the largest in the world, serves as the ultimate deterrent. The Kremlin's doctrine of escalate to de-escalate, which contemplates the limited use of nuclear weapons to de-escalate a conventional conflict, is a chilling reminder of the stakes involved. While both sides understand the catastrophic consequences of nuclear war, the risk of miscalculation or accident remains a terrifying possibility. The fog of war, coupled with the pressures of a rapidly evolving conflict, could lead to unintended escalation. The world watches with bated breath, hoping that cooler heads prevail and that this nightmare scenario never comes to pass. The international community, led by the United Nations, must engage in intensive diplomatic efforts to avert this catastrophe. Establishing clear channels of communication between Washington and Moscow is essential to prevent misunderstandings and manage the risks of escalation. The world stands at a precipice, and the future of humanity hangs in the balance. Section 9, the global maelstrom, economic and geopolitical upheaval. The ramifications of a NATO-Russia war would extend far beyond the battlefields of Europe. The global economy, already fragile, would plunge into a deep recession. Energy prices would skyrocket as Russian oil and gas supplies are disrupted. Supply chains, already strained by the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, would collapse, leading to widespread shortages and soaring inflation. The conflict would also trigger a massive humanitarian crisis. Millions of refugees would flee the fighting, overwhelming neighboring countries and straining international aid organizations. The war would exacerbate global food insecurity, particularly in countries heavily reliant on grain imports from Ukraine and Russia. Geopolitically, the conflict would redraw the global map. Alliances would be tested and new ones would emerge. The war would accelerate the trend towards a multipolar world order, with the United States and its allies facing a more assertive and revisionist Russia and China. The post-Cold War era would be truly over, replaced by a new era of great power competition and uncertainty. Section 10, a world transformed, assessing the potential outcomes. Predicting the outcome of a war between NATO and Russia is a fool's errand. The conflict would be a complex and unpredictable affair, with the potential for rapid escalation and unintended consequences. However, one thing is certain, the world would never be the same. A decisive victory for either side seems unlikely. More probable is a protracted conflict, with both sides suffering heavy losses and neither achieving their objectives. The war would likely end in a negotiated settlement, but only after a period of immense suffering and destruction. The world that emerges from this conflict would be a darker, more dangerous place. The threat of nuclear war would loom larger than ever. International institutions would be weakened and trust between nations would be shattered. The liberal international order, already under strain, would be dealt a potentially fatal blow. The only certainty in this scenario is uncertainty. The world stands at a crossroads, and the choices we make in the days and weeks ahead will determine the fate of generations to come.